I thought Sapa would be just another beautiful destination, a place with mountains, rice terraces, and a few nice photos, but I was wrong. What I found in Sapa was much more than scenery. It was a place where clouds drift through the streets, where ancient traditions still shape daily life, and where every corner feels like a scene from a dream. This is my experience exploring Sapa, one of the most breathtaking places in Vietnam. The journey to Sapa began before sunrise. As the road climbed higher into the mountains of northern Vietnam, the landscape slowly transformed. Cities disappeared. Concrete buildings became distant memories. Outside the window, endless mountains stretched across the horizon. Then, something magical happened. Clouds began appearing below us, not above, below. Entire valleys disappeared beneath a sea of white mist. For a moment, it felt as though we were flying, and that was my first glimpse of Sapa. The next morning, I woke up before dawn. The air was cold, much colder than I expected. Stepping outside, I found the town wrapped in fog. Streetlights glowed softly through the mist. The mountains were hidden. The valley was invisible. Everything felt mysterious. Then, slowly, the sun began to rise. The fog started to move. The mountains emerged, layer after layer, peak after peak, and suddenly the entire landscape appeared before me. It was one of the most beautiful sunrises I had ever seen. No visit to Sapa is complete without exploring its famous rice terraces. These incredible landscapes were built by local ethnic communities over hundreds of years. From above, they look like giant staircases carved into the mountains. Walking through them is an entirely different experience. The trails wind through valleys, streams, and villages. Every turn reveals a new view: a wooden bridge, a hidden waterfall, a farmer working in the fields, children laughing as they run home from school. The deeper I walked into the countryside, the more peaceful everything became. The noise of modern life disappeared. Only nature remained. One of the highlights of my trip was visiting Ta Van village. Nestled in the heart of Muong Hoa Valley, this small village feels untouched by time. Traditional wooden houses sit among green fields. Water buffalo graze peacefully nearby. Life moves at a slower pace here. As I walked through the village, I met local families going about their daily routines. Some were weaving traditional textiles. Others were preparing food or working on nearby farms. There was a warmth and authenticity that is difficult to find in many tourist destinations. This wasn't a performance for visitors. This was real life, and that made the experience even more special. One thing that surprised me most about Sapa was the people. The region is home to several ethnic minority groups, including the Hung, Red Dao, Jai, and Tay communities. Despite language differences, everyone I met was welcoming. A simple smile often turned into a conversation. Many locals shared stories about their traditions, families, and daily lives. These encounters reminded me that travel is not only about seeing places, it's about connecting with people, and sometimes those human connections become the most memorable part of a journey. Of course, no trip to Sapa would be complete without visiting Fansipan. Known as the Roof of Indochina, Fansipan stands over 3,100 meters above sea level. The journey to the summit is an adventure itself. As the cable car rises above forests and valleys, the views become increasingly spectacular. Clouds drift beneath your feet. Mountains stretch endlessly into the distance. When I finally reached the top, the scene was unbelievable. The world below disappeared beneath a sea of clouds. Standing there felt like standing on the edge of the sky. After a long day of exploring, I decided to try one of Sapa's most famous traditions, a Red Dao amble bath. Local herbs collected from the mountains are boiled for hours to create a natural wellness treatment. The warm water carried the scent of dozens of medicinal plants. As I relaxed in the wooden tub, all the fatigue from hiking seemed to disappear. The experience was calming, peaceful, and uniquely Sapa. As evening approached, I found a quiet viewpoint overlooking the valley. The sun slowly sunk behind the mountains. Golden light covered the rice terraces. Smoke rose from village chimneys. The temperature dropped. Everything became still. In that moment, I realized why so many travelers fall in love with Sapa. It isn't just the scenery, it's the atmosphere, the feeling of being completely disconnected from the rush of everyday life. When people think about Vietnam, they often imagine bustling cities, beaches, and street food. But Sapa offers something entirely different, a world of mountains, clouds, ancient traditions, and unforgettable experiences. Whether you're trekking through rice terraces, meeting local communities, standing above the clouds on Fansipan, or simply watching the sunset over a quiet valley, Sapa has a way of staying with you long after you've left. And if there's one place in Vietnam that truly captured my heart, it was Sapa.